Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we're going to dive into the case of Christy Giles and Hilda Marcela Cabrales Arzola, who were both murdered in November of 2021. So let's just get right into it. On the left-hand side, you can see 24-year-old Christy Giles, an Instagram model and influencer, and on the right-hand side, you can see her friend, 26-year-old Hilda Marcela Cabrales Arzola. She was an architectural designer, even though some articles you may find will say architect. Now this is David Brian Pearce, 40, also known as David Bryant. He's a Hollywood producer, actually a wannabe Hollywood producer, might I add, a serial essayist, and now a murderer as well. I'll take myself off screen so that you can really take a good look at this guy. This is Ron Jeremy, pictured in the middle where the arrow is pointing, a porn star who is charged with 30 counts of SA. So this case has Harvey Weinstein vibes, something like that. And here you can see douche canoe, shall we call him, pictured everywhere with celebrities. Paris Hilton does not look very impressed with him there. I'm pretty sure she would know what he's all about. Now, Michael Unspach, these are other people we have to look at quickly, is from Poughkeepsie. He's a New York native. He's a cinematographer and also calls himself a biohacker who was at the party to make a documentary, allegedly, about electronic dance music. He is being charged with being an accessory to manslaughter, but has been released on a $100,000 bond. Then we also need to look at Brant Osborne, 42, or Brand Osborne, Staten Island native Hollywood actor, charged with an accessory to manslaughter, but his arrest was reduced to detention. He helped to transport and dump Christy and Hilda's bodies. David Pearce is held on a $3.4 million bond, and there is a rumor, apparently from one of the friends in the circle, and this is just a speculation and a rumor, but that these guys are so bad that when they pick up girls, particularly very good-looking girls, models, and things like that, they make snuff films out of, what they do to them. If you don't know what a snuff film is, I'm pretty sure a simple Google search will tell you. Now, Christy Giles, also known as Christy Lee Saliers, is a well-known model, Instagram influencer, and internet personality from Mount Olive, Alabama. She was 24 years old at the time of her death. She was born on 5th of November, 1997, and she died on the 13th of November, 2021. She has two sisters, Leslie and Brittany, went to Gardendale High School, and she was married to Jan Saliers, dated since 2019, and they eloped at the Burning Man Festival on the 31st of August, 2020. He's an entrepreneur, and she was living in Marina del Rey, California, with her husband. Hours before she died, she told Jan that she wishes she could watch the sunset with him. He is devastated by her death, of course. Now, Hilda Marcela Cabrales Arzola was a 26-year-old Mexican architectural designer. She got a degree from Universidad de Monterrey, San Pedro Garcia, Mexico. Since November 2019, she worked as a lead project manager at Atrio Interiores, and she was learning to code to find new career opportunities and hoping to move to Canada. She died just days before her 27th birthday. I did a little deep diving there because some articles say 5 days, some say 1 day before, so days before she turned 27. Most seem to say she died 1 day before her 27th birthday. Now it's time to look at the timeline. So between 2010 and 2021, David Pearce essayed at least 7 women, some who came forward when they heard what happened to Christy and Hilda. He faces charges of 2 counts of forcible essay, 1 count of sodomy, 1 count of essay of an unconscious person, and 1 count of sexual penetration with a foreign object. In the past, David had filed criminal complaints if there was a risk of him being caught, claiming to be the victim of crime. Now, this count with a foreign object, of course, these victims survived. Unfortunately, Hilda and Christy did not survive. But that woman said that she was drugged, and then she woke up and he was using a wine bottle on her, and then he would call her at her house. He got her address, threatened her family, and said that he would harm her family if she ever came forward with the information. So it's no wonder that many women only came forward after learning what happened to Christy and Hilda, and they expect, they being police, expect that more women are going to come forward. Charges were also dropped when there was insufficient evidence to prove that he had essayed women after they were drugged. On the night of Friday, November 12th, 2021, Christy and Hilda went out for a carefree night of partying. They went to the Soho House in the Arts District of downtown Los Angeles. When the club closed, they decided to go to an after-party in East LA at the Warehouse, a rave held in a large brick building used as a parking garage. Christy and her husband had a tracking app on their phones, and Christy's location pinged from downtown LA to West Hollywood, and then later at the hospital where she was dumped. Now, Christy's last text to her husband was at 1:30 a.m., telling him that she had arrived at the Warehouse. David Pearce and Brant Osborne arrived about 2 hours later. So if you think of the timeline there, think about it, they're arriving around 3:30 in the morning. Just put that in your mind of how quickly these guys actually operate. An affidavit revealed that a friend told the police that Christy used cocaine and ketamine and smoked marijuana at the party. Please remember, no victim blaming over here. A lot of people party, a lot of people go out, a lot of people recreationally use drugs. It doesn't mean that they can be murdered. At some point, the woman became separated at the party, and then at 4:21 a.m., Hilda texted Christy, "Do you want coke?" Christy replied, "Where are you?" Hilda said, "In the kitchen, let's do a line." A friend of the woman said that David Pearce was then seen giving them what appeared to be cocaine, but toxicology reports show that they both had other drugs in their systems, including the date R-word drug. They left with David Pearce, Michael Ansbach, and Brant Osborne. They were driven in Osborne's Hyundai and taken to David and, I'll say Brant, sorry, here in the Netherlands or South Africa we say Brant, but David and Brant's apartment on Olympic Boulevard, arriving at 5:11 a.m. 20 minutes later, the woman was spooked. Hilda sent Christy a message, "Let's get out of here," with a wide-eyed emoji. This was the house where they were, and apparently this is where Brant and David lived. It's in the Pico Robinson neighborhood in West LA, and it's at 8641 Olympic Boulevard. Yes, the apartment building where they say here Christy Giles and Hilda Marcela Cabrales Arzola were drugged and held captive. Hilda ordered an Uber, which then pulled up at 5:45 a.m. So they so badly wanted to get out of there that Hilda ordered an Uber and told Christy, "Don't worry, the Uber's on its way, it'll be here in 10 minutes. The Uber arrived at 5:45, waited for 5 minutes, and then left, according to security camera footage from a nearby building. Between 10:30 a.m. and 4 p.m., neighbors heard the sounds of someone in pain and moaning on and off. Now, I put here in bold, if you see something, say something, and equally if you hear something, please call the police, because these neighbors will say, "Oh yeah, we heard people, in pain, moaning on and off all day." I mean, really? You're going to hear that and not call the police or anything? At 4:19 p.m., David is seen carrying a partially dressed Christy to his black Toyota Prius. The license plates had been removed from the vehicle and he was wearing a mask, hat, and hoodie. Brand accompanied him, also in disguise, and they drove to the Southern California Medical Center in Culver City, dropping Christy off at 5 p.m. They told medical staff that they were good Samaritans who found her passed out on the curb. Christy's husband had texted her throughout the day and was getting increasingly concerned. He was actually out of town on a business trip of sorts at the time. I don't know exactly what he was up to, but he wasn't there, and he was actually at the airport trying to rush to get back because he was getting really worried about her, especially when he saw her location change to the hospital. He then called the emergency room and was told that his wife was dead. The men returned to their apartment and then carried Hilda out, who was also partially dressed. They dropped her off at a Kaiser Permanente hospital in West LA at 7 p.m. Hilda was alive when she was dropped off, but suffered severe organ and brain damage. She was put on life support, but died a day before her 27th birthday after 2 weeks of trying to resuscitate her. So the thing is, when Christy was dropped off, she was already dead. Horrible to think that they just dropped her like that at a hospital. Christy died of a mixture of cocaine, fentanyl, gamma hydroxy butyric acid, GHB, the date R word drug, right? And ketamine, while Hilda died of multiple organ failure due to cocaine, ecstasy, and other drugs in her system. Their deaths were ruled a homicide. Homicide detectives were on David and Brand's doorstep later that night. The men refused to talk, insisting on getting a lawyer before they said anything. When asked why they didn't call an ambulance, they said it was because they didn't know them. They didn't know these women. Why would they call an ambulance? Yeah, okay, as if that's reason enough. And then when asked why they did not drop them off at the same hospital then, they said, well, we didn't know how that would look. On Tuesday, July 5th, 2022, Brand Osborne was charged with being an accessory after the fact in 2 murders, but his arrest was changed to detention. He changed his social media profile to Bobby Del Fradi, so go and have a look if you want on Facebook. Michael Ansbach was also charged with being an accessory to manslaughter, but later released on a $100K bond. David Pearce and Brand Osborne have pleaded not guilty to the charges, and this happened on Monday, July 11th, so it's very recent now that they were in court for their arraignment. Christy's parents, Leslie and Dusty, actually not for a hearing, right? Christy's parents, Leslie and Dusty, were present in the courtroom. David's new attorney asked Judge Kerry White to not allow cameras in the courtroom. This request was denied, and David was seen in his orange jail gear on camera. Now, is it just me, or is that really one serious glow down? He looks really old there. Like, I struggle to even see that that's the same guy. But that's the picture that's being shared everywhere. His ears look the same, but like, damn. Prison is not doing him any good, thankfully. And I hope he'll never be released. The next court date is on August 29th, 2022. Deputy DA, District Attorney, right, Catherine Mariano, plans to ask the judge to set his bail at $8.4 million. He's also been charged with felony counts of sale, transportation, or the offer to sell fentanyl. During a news conference last Tuesday announcing the newest charges against Pearce, the district attorney asked any other potential victims to notify the LAPD's West Homicide Bureau at 213-382-9740 or the DA's office at 877-542-9370. The reason to come forward would of course be to help this never happen to any other woman again. We don't know how many women David Pearce and possibly his friends have harmed already. So if a whole lot of women have experienced what they do, and how they operate, and if they know something, it's really going to be important to come forward to say something to really take this man down. We know that often survivors do not report SA for a variety of reasons, Gascon said. Sometimes they feel the system is not going to listen to them. Sometimes they're afraid of their assailant. Sometimes they feel ashamed, and we recognize that these are all factors that play a role. That is one of the reasons we're here to say to our community, and certainly survivors out there, that if you feel comfortable coming forward, we're here for you. Please share this episode, and let's keep an eye on when David Pearce particularly is next in court. We, of course, would like to contribute to the fight for justice for Christy and Hilda, but also for all the victims that have already come forward and will still come forward relating to what this man and his friends do to them. This must be stopped. Obviously, I'm sure there's more monsters like him, but this wannabe Hollywood producer who thinks that he's completely untouchable, no, he's not. And it's not okay what he does. And it's not okay, please remember, that those types of comments are going to be deleted if you're going to victim shame and say, oh, well, they were out late at night. They were taking drugs. It's their fault. It's not their fault for being out late at night or recreationally using drugs to then end up murdered. And remember, it's not just murdered from an overdose. The overdose that they experience is so that these men can then take sexual advantage of them. And speculatively, according to a rumor, even make movies out of it. And if you look at the affidavit, they have actually, through a search warrant, taken possession of a whole lot of electronic equipment. So it's not such a far stretch to think that the horrors that get committed behind closed doors, once these men lure a woman home, or to the apartment, of which Christy's husband said they were very likely lured there under false pretenses, saying that it was like a producer's after party, or, that they were going to hook them up with business opportunities or things like that, which of course is also not uncommon in the modeling and film industry. So it's like saying, well, these women wanted to become actors or actresses, and then they meet someone like Harvey Weinstein. How can one blame the actor or actress? You know what I mean? And I really feel strongly about this because I myself have been drugged in a similar manner with the SA type of drug, and it was horrendous. And I myself didn't know what to do. So honestly, I just want all the victims of particularly this man's crimes and his friends to know we've got your back. We are there in spirit supporting you, and we really, really hope to see David Pearce and whoever else is responsible for Christy and Hilda's deaths and many more victims and their abuse. We have got your back, and we hope to see that those men pay the price, but that David will never, ever come out of prison again, because he doesn't belong on the streets. He'll only do it again. These would be repeat offenders that do it again and again and again, as he's already proven with his track record. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.